And now, the star of the show, Jordan Rogozinski.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Jordan 411 Sports Show. And today's show is we're going to talk about the Winnipeg Jets and obviously the game last night versus the Toronto Maple Leafs and other topics surrounding the Jets. And I would like to please welcome my two special guests, Michael, to the show.
Hey, Jordan, thanks for having me again. I guess I haven't been fired yet.
Yeah, you haven't been fired yet. And my brother, Jeremy Rogozinski, to the show.
Hey, Jordan, thanks for having me.
Yeah. My first question is, how do you think the buy-in has been from everybody to Rick Bowness' system this year compared to last year?
Jeremy, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I can go first. It's been a complete 180. I mean, just the whole attitude of the team and, it's just amazing how they're playing as a team. They're playing for each other. No one's about themselves. The way they talk even, we haven't accomplished anything yet. Like, it's team first. It's different. You can tell. I really I can't believe how good defensively we are. Me and Jordan have went to a couple live games and we're the other team is has no room. They're giving up nothing. It's just crazy to watch live how little they give up. And when they do give up, they have Connor Hellebuyck to save them. So that's
and a backup goalie too.
Well, he's good too.
Guys, I went to that game against Tampa, as I'm sure you guys know.
Yeah.
I have never seen the top end guys of Tampa so frustrated on a night. The stick banging on the boards when they're coming back to the bench. It was interesting because the Jets gave up the first goal in that game, and I thought, oh boy, right? That was that run of game. They were still going very well, but they were giving up the first goal quite a lot and actually able to come back and win a lot of games that way. But guys, I the one number I want to kind of throw out in this discussion, which I think just sums up kind of what Jeremy says, but also the big difference, and that number is 34. 34 straight games. Now, 35 out of the last 36, if you want to count last night's game against the Leafs, 3 goals or less. The complete defensive buy-in, I think, is a microplasm of what Rick Bowness has envisioned right from the minute.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, guys, the Dubois trade helps with that. The guys we got in return, Kapari, Iafallo, and now Gabriel Velarde, they come from that Los Angeles defense-first system to help Rick Bowness kind of drive the point home. And listen, I think there was a wake-up moment happening. I don't know when it was, where it was, okay, we got to play this way to have success, or we're not going to have success. And I think that was the end of last year. If you remember the comments from Coach, right after that, it sounded like the team was coming apart at the seams and everybody was going to be traded. And Mark said that I need to reevaluate my future here. Well, we all know what has happened since then, and 37 and 55 have also signed contract extensions. So the room is in a really good place, I think, from a distance. And I know we're probably going to talk about this later, but I would really be careful who I brought into here at the trade deadline. I do think there's something that needs to be done based on the last couple of games and the players that we have out. I think has exposed some weaknesses, but I think it goes to show that when you play well and you stick to a system, anybody can play in that system. Last night being a prime example. I know that's a long-winded answer, but that's kind of what I'm seeing last year to this year.
Yeah. Even like Dominic Catanado, right? When he came into the lineup, he hasn't missed a beat. Sure, he's not. Like,
Yeah, and he was the player too, Jordan. But I was gonna reference in this whole thing, right? You have guys coming up from the Moose, Jansen Fialbi being one of them, and the Jets are rolling 4 lines this year. To see a forward line, in the 24, 25 minute range now. That used to be a really common occurrence, even under the old regime with Paul Maurice. You're seeing that down to 22, 21 minutes. Last night, I think, was the exception on the defensive side because you lost Morrissey so early. But it allows you to do that. It allows you to do that because you haven't been taxed in previous games. So if you have to have one guy about 25, 26 minutes a night, it's okay. It just can't be every night. And I think that's where it's kind of been really, really good for the Jets. And I think last night we got some stability back with that Lowry line, that third line again. But yeah, I just think it's been good so far, and I'm gonna pull the old Winnipeg Jets line. You ain't won nothing yet, despite the score, because I'm looking at the standings this morning, and boy, there's 2 teams right on our heels in our own division, in Dallas and Colorado, who just don't seem to want to go away. But I'll make the proclamation right now: playoff hockey's coming to Winnipeg in some fashion. I just don't see this going downhill.
No, I don't either. And the like last night I was watching like Illegal Curve, and people in their comments were saying, "Well, we're not scoring now." I'm like, "Well, we're still getting chances." So even though you don't put the puck in the net, yeah, it's important to do, but it's not like we're not generating. 2-0 being the example.
But also, like, even though we're not scoring, we're still playing good defensively. Where last year, I think that if we didn't score, we would give up things defensively. Where this year, no matter if they're scoring or not, they're still playing to their system defensive hockey.
Here's the thing, guys. I think if you want to see the epitome, I guess, of team system and system play, look at the game against Boston. Look at the game against Toronto.
Yeah.
That was a 2-1 game in Boston until they get that freak short-handed goal, and you can see them selling out to avoid Boston to get that empty net. Personally, I have no problem with the goalie being pulled in that scenario and the street coming to an end because it's an old Herm Edwards line. You play to win the game, and that's what happened there. But really, I mean, last night, the Toronto team, you have no Shifley, you have no Velarde, you have no Morrissey for a large portion of that team. I would challenge anybody that has those types of injuries to be able to play like that. Obviously, you lose some offensive punch. Let's not forget the 2-0 save that Samsonov made off of Morgan Barron, and I don't know who the other Jet was there. It is
Lowry.
Lowry, okay, yeah. So, again, I know this fan base likes to get bent out of shape about losses. That wasn't that for me last night. And, the way they defended that two-headed monster there, Matthews and Marner, that overtime, it's going to happen with the time and space. I think the Jets, I have to go with Matthews to the net. But then again, if Lowry doesn't slip in the corner 15 seconds before that, the Jets are off on a 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 the other way. So, Lowry really slipping in that first pass, kind of out of the zone, kind of set that whole thing up for Toronto. And, hey, Jets have played well against McDavid. Jets have played well against Matthews.
Yep.
Let's not get bent too out of shape about a loss. And
Colorado, we played well against.
Yeah, no, we did too. I think, and as I was saying before we started recording, I think there's gonna be some decisions that have to be made at the trade deadline. What do you do to augment the roster? But
yeah, I think we need a second line center.
Yeah, we can get into that now if you want.
We will.
Okay. I think too another center would certainly help. To me, like the one thing that I'm wondering as, a fan and as a guy that likes to cover the team on occasion, on podcasts such as my own and this one that I come on, I just wonder why the reluctance of playing Cole Perfetti at center. He was a natural center in the OHL. I just really wonder why there's a reluctance to play Cole Perfetti at center in that moment, because Adam Lowry's not a first-line center we've seen. But Vladislav Namestnikov is a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
So take that for what it is, right? But yeah, I'm with you that I think we need a second line center. I also think we need a defenseman that's a little bit on the bigger end of things. I still feel, and I noticed it particularly in the Bruins game, I thought our undersized defensemen were being taken for a ride at some points during the game. But again, that system has sort of shielded a lot of that. The good first pass up and out, right? The defensive back pressure. Now you got buy-in from not only two defensemen, but three forwards to play defense. And, outside of the first 3 games with Brossoit played, he's been lights out since then. And, it's sort of a rotten deal, but he doesn't get a shutout. He had to hold it to the shootout to get a shutout. But, it's just one of those things where goaltending to me isn't a concern with this team. Getting a defenseman and getting a second line center, to me, would kind of be on the top of a list. Whether you get both before the deadline, I don't know. But this team, to me, has certainly shown to management that you should go.
You should
and augment this group more so than last year.
Yeah. And I noticed Domestica gets waived a lot from the face-off. Why do you think that is?
Jeremy, do you want that one?
I don't know. That's all I can say is I don't know. I mean, our face-offs overall, they've been a struggle this year, just like the power play,
Yeah.
I mean, face-off.
Really, boys? We have a problem with the power play?
I know, it's crazy, but hey, like you said before we started, once we get Scheifele, Velarde, Connor on that same top unit, maybe it'll start to click, right?
Maybe. Now let's talk about Nikolai Ehlers. I think his game has been phenomenal. Both sides of the puck. He's healthy again. You can obviously see that, and he's really noticeable. So does anybody else have other thoughts?
Yeah, I think he isn't he like one of the top forwards 5-on-5
Yeah.
for yeah. So yeah, that's pretty good
Yeah.
considering just his size, but he's so fast. I mean, he can back like it's crazy that a guy like that is buying into the system, So that shows the other guys, to buy in too.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy though to me, like that Ehlers is always like the underrated guy on our team. Everybody doesn't talk about him.
So it's weird just to pick up on that, not to pivot too far. When we watch national Jet games, they seem to be surprised by guys like Ehlers all the time.
Mhm.
And I just keep thinking to myself of where have you been this whole time? Right? Because
Yeah.
as somebody that's fortunate enough to watch a guy like Ehlers for 82 games a year, it's
Yeah.
the guy has not been put in the best of situations at times.
Yeah.
I know there's been a couple articles out there about his ice time being underutilized, which I would wholeheartedly agree with. I think he should be
Yeah.
on the ice more, but
Yeah.
I don't assign ice time on the team.
Yeah.
No. So
You're not a coach, like Sheldon Keith benching his number one power play for the whole power play. I don't think I've seen that in a while.
well, to give up a 2-on-0 on a power play, that's bad. Like that's bad, man.
Yeah,
Like
but I'll tell you, it's bad what happened the other way, right? Like if that doesn't go right into the goalie, you can loop that thing around and you can catch them on the back side of that pretty easily.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like the thing about even a player like Mark Scheifele this year, he has been the single biggest player that they've had to get to where they are today.
Yeah.
Because that whole Scheifele, Wheeler, and whoever was on the other side all those years, no offense, you might as well start the game down 1 or 2-0 because you know those guys are going to be a minus whatever at the end of the night last year. Now, Scheifele and Velarde, if they're in the lineup, we probably win that game yesterday.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
For sure, one of those two guys in even. And yeah, it just reinforces the need for me to have to go get another center.
Yeah.
And people say, "Oh, you should just call up a guy from the Moose." Those guys are pretty good. Really, you're gonna put that guy in that type of situation?
No.
Yeah.
Those guys like Chaz Lucius, who's out for the season with the injury again, and Brad Lambert and Nikita Chibrikov. I would be very surprised if we see any of those top end Moose guys this year.
Oh, I don't see it happening. No.
You don't want to stunt the development of your top end prospects.
No.
Yeah.
One guy that might be very interesting post trade deadline. Might I submit the name Rutger McGorty for a possible playoff run?
I know,
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that kind of has to bear it into the conversation of what does that look like, right? I realize we're probably 2 months away from that discussion. Because if Michigan gets to where they want to go to, first week into April will be the national championship or the Final Four there. But, you have to wonder where that guy fits into the plans. And then, obviously, I don't know if you guys are aware, but Thomas Milic is having quite a run in the ECHL. You're eventually going to have to find a home for him. Probably with the Moose, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's something that gets done at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Or next year, right? And now we're right back to talking about the Jets having a stat prospect pool, which is going to help in at the trade deadline. But again, trade with caution.
Yeah. Because you're right. It has to be the right fit, right?
I mean, nobody knows what the right fit is, right? I mean, the best fit, I think, at the trade deadline was the guy nobody was talking about years ago, Paul Stastny. And then I think it was a year or two after that they went in to trade. They went in to trade for Kevin Hayes, and how did that end up? So
It didn't work.
It didn't work. You win some, you lose some, right? And I would also submit the Boston Bruins to your attention last year, right?
Yeah.
So good. They brought in all those guys at the deadline: Orlov, Bertuzzi, and.
Yeah.
And one could make the argument it disturbed their dressing room in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Who would you trade? We decided to get somebody. Who would be the first guy to go from your team or your the prospect pool?
Do you want to go first on this one, Jeremy?
I think I will. I think Logan Stanley probably could be a good piece.
Yeah.
The prospects are tough, eh? Because you want to give
Yeah.
up. You want to give up some of these guys. I mean, these guys are going to be good, man. But and who are you getting, right?
Well, I'll say this: to Jeb, you got a Jeb, right?
I know, but I just who do you give, Lambert?
Well, what do you get back, right? I mean, the conversation is completely different. I don't want to trade top,
or do you get?
I don't want to trade a top prospect for a rental player, but you did entertain me a top prospect for a guy with 2 years left on his contract.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's worth it, right? Because the guy's not going to probably be on your team for the next 2 years, and you help your team right now.
Yeah. Or even a guy with 1 year remaining, like he has this year and next year,
I've heard this. I've heard this thrown around, and I think I might have told you this. Sidney Crosby.
I know.
I'm not saying Pittsburgh is going to do it, but I think the Jets are in the conversation for a trade like that.
Yeah.
Right? He's got this year and next year on a contract.
Yes.
To me, really, the only untouchable is Rutger McGroarty. You can entertain a deal with just about anybody else.
Yeah.
But even like the Travis Konechny or Sean Monahan.
Yeah.
To me, an Elias Lindholm made some sense if you can get Calgary to take some money.
Or even Sean Walker or what's his name? Chris Tanev.
Yeah, again, that's Tanev is the type of defenseman, but I think this team is missing from being a real over-the-top hockey team. But there's a reason I'm not making those decisions.
Yeah.
To me, if I was an NHL general manager, which I am in NHL versions on the PlayStation, I'm giving up those first-round picks like they're candy.
Yeah.
Because I know I can reset the game back to normal with another franchise. So
And who obviously Josh Morrissey got hurt last night. That's unfortunate for him. Good guy. He's been on the show before. But who comes in for him? Do they pull Logan Stanley out? Do they pull Declan? Do they pull Billy?
I'd like to see Declan Chisholm.
yeah, he would be my number.
Yeah.
He's a guy. I think you guys would agree with me on this. He's the guy that we know the least about.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, Logan Stanley, I think you know what you're getting.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And because it's Josh Morrissey out, I think you want to supplement still for still if you can with that replacement.
Yeah.
If it was a Nate Schmidt or a Brendan Dillon, then I think Logan Stanley would be the answer.
Yeah.
Personal preference, I don't know this from a hole in the wall, but based on what we saw last night, I mean, it's a foregone conclusion, but we won't be seeing 44 in the lineup on Saturday.
No.
But again, crazier things have happened. I really don't think we're going to see Shifley or Velarde on Saturday either. Just give it the player break, get through it, and come back healthy.
Yeah.
After the break, though, I think they'll all be back.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I just think we need to see more of Declan Chisholm, and I think if you want the Morrissey skill set replacement, it's Declan Chisholm over Logan Stanley, and then if Chisholm starts to kind of run with it a little bit, sorry, Logan, you haven't really done enough for me to stay in the lineup, and to be honest, I'd be willing to move on from him.
Yeah.
And then you have to wonder, where does Billy Hanela fit into the scenario too?
Like, we have so many Ds, so many prospects, you know.
But the problem is all of the D right now are undersized.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
So how do you rework that, right? With DeMello, and I think there's one other defenseman, but didn't end up being a UFA. Like, are you comfortable are you comfortable putting 3 younger defensemen in the lineup at the same time next year? Right?
Yeah.
To me, with Logan Stanley, it would have happened already if it was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Chance.
Yeah, he's had more than enough chances to prove himself.
He even got in as the 7th defenseman. And couldn't. People would say, my guys, but he hasn't played very much. But it's what you do with that opportunity and what you do in the practices. And if I had to just say one thing here while we're on the topic of defensemen.
Yeah.
Since Nate Schmidt was in and out of the lineup there for that 2-week span, he has been absolutely terrific.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know how you can take him out of the lineup. And it was going to take an injury, which it appears to have, to change that core of sits.
Yeah. I think that really woke him up, you know, a veteran player.
Yeah.
You know, he's used to being in the lineup, and all of a sudden he's sitting there. I think it gave him in the press box. I think it gave him a chance to sit back and really work on his game and watch the game from afar. And ever since he got back in, he's never looked back.
Yep.
Yeah. It's.
And
I'm so excited about this Jets team, and I wish they could play every night.
Yeah. That's what
they're such a joy to watch.
Yeah.
That even if they lose, they're competitive in their losses.
Yeah. I always say I don't mind losing, but as long as you play well.
Yeah. I think there's only 2 games this whole year that I can think of where I can say, oh, the Jets were uncompetitive in that game.
LA. would be one.
The first Montreal game would come to mind, and one of the games against Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah, those ones. Yeah,
But again, those used to be a weekly occurrence last year. So
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
It's fun. It's fun as a fan.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
we're just street fans that have opinions, and we're not coaches,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No. So, but yeah, it's last year at this time it was depressing watching them. Like by the end, I didn't even want to watch.
Right about now with the downward turn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
know.
right about now.
By the end, I didn't even want to watch. I was like, screw this. But
And-
this year, I'm like right into it.
Really interesting question that I have for both of you guys. Outside of Winnipeg, who do you think has been the biggest surprise this year?
Outside.
Vancouver.
Oh, Vancouver, without a doubt.
Vancouver, yeah.
Yeah, my biggest surprise, although it shouldn't really be a surprise, is the LA Kings. They seem to be a team coming apart at the seams.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I saw this morning when I woke up, I saw Drew Doty's interview. He said some guys are too concerned about their stats and not playing and not about the team.
Ooh.
Talking about.
Well, it might be a certain guy that used to play in Winnipeg, but there could be other guys there too.
Yeah.
I don't know how that trade was allowed to be.
I know.
I think we robbed LA.
Report a bank robbery.
Yeah, the Oilers to me have also been a surprise. 14 games in a row.
Yes. Considering how they started, yes.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see though if they can keep it up.
Yeah.
I just keep saying it's when the games get tough.
Yeah.
Their scoring starts to dry up. If you can tie up McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah.
And
But
New York.
They're defending extremely well. Like if you look at Stuart Skinner's last package of games,
Yeah.
he's won like 11 in a row, which is the most ever for an Oiler goalie. But again, it's never been about the regular season for the Oilers for me. It's what do you do in the second round of the playoffs?
Yeah.
And then third round of the playoffs 2 years ago, and you ran into the Avalanche. Well, what did they do, right? They won the cup.
Oh. But yeah, I hope they get into their division. I don't want to play them in the wild card.
Yeah, no, I think they will. I think they're going to finish. My sense right now is I think they finished second behind Vancouver.
Yeah, could be.
And New York Islanders with the surprise of a century, Patrick Waugh.
Oh, do we really have to talk about this? To me, and Jeremy, I don't know how you feel about this, and you can chime in after, and Jordan, you too. To me, this is the last stand for Lou Lamoriello. To me, this is a move of desperation and trying to get something out of the team. I think it's a team that's contractually tied up in a lot of things. No move clauses, a lot of money, a lot of term to a lot of contracts. To me, they have one deadline and average for the rest of it, and a really good goalie. I don't know how. I don't know how you can fix this, even if they were to fire Lou Lamoriello.
It would be a job and a half.
It's gonna take years.
The interesting part to me, though, guys, is the Islanders don't seem to have Patrick Waugh type of players.
Yeah.
So either he has to evolve as the coach, which I think he will, to me, there's just a whole bunch of desperation written all over this.
Yeah.
He's just fun to listen to again.
But then there's we finally get to see somebody maybe pull the goalie with 13 and a half minutes left in the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, they're simply put, they're a mess.
Yeah.
Another surprise to me would be the Philadelphia Flyers, though. Third in the
Yeah.
Metro
Oh, yeah.
right now.
They've been good.
Outside of what's happening with their number one goaltender right now, but that's a discussion for another show.
Yeah. Since I have this shirt on, and since we're gonna end soon, we might as well talk about the new stadium, Princess Auto Stadium for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Opinions on it? Do you like it? Do you not?
I'll say this: it's the cost of doing business, right?
Yeah.
Whoever gives you money to put their logo anywhere, you do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't ring off the tongue, like it doesn't sound good on the tongue very well. It's not a catchy, but I mean, it's about who will pay the most money, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's a business decision, and
No.
some of the puns that have already come out of the name. I don't know if you guys check online at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Princess Stadium and
Princess Auto Winnipeg Stadium to me would sound better, but
yeah,
it's not about what sounds better. It's what,
Yeah.
unfortunately, about what gets you the most money.
Yeah.
The tool shed, the garage, anything like that would probably go in the nickname.
Yeah.
And according to Jeff Hamilton, it's the largest deal the Bombers have ever done.
You know what? I'll tell you what. That's a testament to what Wade Miller has built as a Bomber brand in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the team is back in the days of trying to rebuild this thing, I'm not sure you get that amount of money.
No, I know.
Yeah.
People like working with reputable brands.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And good on the Bombers. They found it. It's not an easy market, speaking from experience, to get sponsorship out of in these current conditions of the market. But that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll probably do a free agency show soon. Not soon, but soon. You
We
know
can-
what I mean?
ECFL cap.
Can I pull a plug?
Yeah.
My football podcast is doing one on the day of for 8 hours.
Oh wow.
8 hours.
8 hours from 9 to 5.
So we'll
I
do the
don't think,
recap.
I don't know if Oliveira and Schoen are coming back.
I'll make you guys a promise right now because we're out of time. We'll have to do this again. Prior to free agency, maybe we'll do a free agency preview show or something.
Okay.
But no, some of the stuff I'm hearing, guys, that Bomber team might look mighty different on the field this year.
I know. Yeah.
If you really want to get into it, I really like what Ottawa's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really
It could get shown yet.
I reserved a lot of judgment on this topic publicly.
Yeah.
I know everything that Zach Collaros has done, but I think the Bombers are going to live to regret that Drew Brown decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not this year, not next year, but it's going to be that in the future. In the future for me.
Yeah. Well,
Listen, my co-host on the football podcast was, adamant, but it should have been Drew Brown's team, and I thought he was crazy. I've kind of come around to his line of thinking. The only other thing I could think of is if the 2025 Grey Cup isn't here in Winnipeg, I think that decision to move on from Zach Palaus potentially becomes a lot easier. But to be honest, I really worry about the future quarterback after number 8. Because I don't know, and I haven't spoken to anybody, but just the sense I get is it'll be sooner rather than later when he decides to hang them up.
Oh, I think after 2025, he's done.
And again, are you going to withhold the guy who, as we now know, signed for number 1 money?
But, I mean, he only signed 2 years in Ottawa. That expires.
Yeah.
Would he consider a return for the 2026 season?
It's interesting because Ottawa's gone this road before with guys that we think are ready to be number 1s, and how's that turned out?
Yeah.
Not good.
The other side of this, and I sincerely hope not, because I really love the way Drew Brown plays football.
Yeah.
How much of this is he's good because the team around him is good?
Yeah.
And now you take some of that away from him. What does that look like?
Yeah. A quarterback is only as good as the team around him.
I mean, everybody thought Nick Arbuckle was the second coming to Warren Moon when he went to Ottawa, and how did that end up?
Yeah.
Not good.
Right? And even the Jeremiah Mazzoli discussion, now injuries aside.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I thought they actually had something with Dustin Crum. It goes to show how much football is, or what have you done for me lately business.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, we don't know, right? Like Drew Brown could go in, start, and he might not be that great, right?
Yeah.
Right.
We'll find out in
I
June.
just hope Ottawa shows enough patience with them, because I think it's around the quarterback now, but they have to do a lot of work.
For sure. Yeah.
And I don't think you can do a last to first. Maybe in the East, but highly unlikely you can do a last to first.
Yeah. Oh, they definitely need pieces around them, for sure.
But I do like the idea that you have Dominic Rhymes there.
Yes.
If they can get shown, I mean, that'll help.
Listen, I think that's where he's going. That's me.
Yeah.
But again, that's why we discuss things when we discuss things, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on, Michael. It was fun.
Sorry, what was that, Jordan? I missed that.
Thank you. For,
Oh, yeah, you did.
thank you for coming on, Michael. It was fun.
Yeah, let's do this again. Let's not wait 3 months, okay?
Yeah.
We won't. We'll do a free agency, something.
I will lock in a date with you the minute we get off of here. How does that sound?
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy, for appearing again. Fun to hear your opinions and for other people to hear what we talk about every day.
Yeah.
And thank you for everybody watching, and bye-bye.